Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Metagame, right here on Pair of Dice Paradise. This is the live streaming As It Happens web programming, where we not only talk about board games, but occasionally talk about talking about board games, hence the meta version of the metagame. And today is going to be one of those days where we kind of dip our toes into that end of the pool. It's kind of weird. We've been, the last couple of weeks, we've been doing kind of the 50th episode celebration and the game show and stuff like that. So we actually haven't had a discussion episode, which is usually the norm, in quite a while. So this actually kind of feels like slipping into a nice, comfortable old pair of shoes. Also feeling that way is the comfortable old pair of shoes that I'm wearing, especially for this episode. So kind of got that whole cycle of life going on, and it helps. It helps. Also, what helps make this show work is the fact that this isn't just me, hopefully, speaking into a microphone into the dead silence of my little recording studio here, but also that I have a co-host who joins me every week, and that co-host is you. Yes, as always, I'm joined by the live streaming YouTube chat window. And that YouTube chat window usually starts me off by telling me the audio and video is working and everything is plugged in. And I got the okay that it is. Thank you, everyone who's watching. So yeah, this show's co-host is you guys, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to present a topic, perhaps give a little monologue about it, maybe just jump into some questions about it. And then we're going to discuss it back and forth with the YouTube chat, everyone who's joining us live, and also see if there's any questions or comments or anything else that comes up in the chat that you want to have shared. If you are in the chat and you have something that you want to have shared on the show, posted for consideration, be sure to add the hashtag TMG for the metagame to your chat post. That simple little hashtag will help your post be seen by me, because what I'm going to do is I have my little window here with the YouTube chat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my web browser's search tool to search for that hashtag, which is going to highlight them, kind of make them bubble up to the top so I'll be able to see them. So the chats, the posts that have that hashtag are the ones that I'm actually going to notice and see. So be sure to include that if you have something to contribute to today's show. And whether you are a long-time watcher or this is your first time, I want to let you know I encourage you to hop into the chat, and because it's always neat to have the mix of people that I've gotten to meet over the course of the show and consider friends, and also new people that we meet for the first time. Before we get to the topic, since I have all of your eyeballs captured and all your attention right now, before we begin, just a couple of quick notes to you. First of all, Brian Fitting, I believe I see your chats already, your little posts already in the chat window. I believe from a couple weeks ago, the 50th episode, there's still something that we need to get, I need to get in contact from you about. So you can contact me through YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter if you are planning to do so. I just want to let you know that if you've already tried, I haven't seen anything from you yet. So you will have to wave your arms virtually in front of me a little bit more. So that's that. And additionally, regular viewer and microwave enthusiast Trevin, if you are watching, you emailed me earlier this week with a question about something. And I told you that I would respond back the next day. And now it's Friday. I want to let you know that I actually finally responded back to you this morning. I apologize for the delay. There was some discussion that I had to do that took me away from getting back to your question. But anyway, I have responded back to your email this morning. And lastly, from last week's contest game show that we did, the speed round thing, which worked okay, but I think we're going to need to retool if we ever do something like that again. Lucy, who was a participant last time and scored very well, and Gazentia Fox, who's a show regular. Lucy and Gazentia, if you can get a hold of me after the show as well, there's some follow-up based on that contest and stuff that I want to follow up with you about as well. So Lucy and Gazentia, get a hold of me if you can, and we'll wrap up the stuff about that last episode that I actually wanted to follow up and touch base on. Woo! Okay, so boom. There's all of that stuff. All of that kind of information being spilled out to all of you to begin the show. And that is as good of a segue as I'm going to get into our main topic, which is this thing we call board game media. Board game media, like so much stuff on YouTube, it seems, is such a strange animal. I've been a web developer for a while now and done other stuff, and so kind of been involved in creating internet content as my career for longer than I'm going to admit. And one thing that I know is that I believe that basically people come to the internet for two primary reasons: information and entertainment. I think that's really, if you were to boil down why someone comes to YouTube or the web in general, it's going to be either to obtain some information or obtain some entertainment. And I know that covers a large swath, very broad topics there. But I think that all of the content then that you encounter, this is my theory, is that all of the content that you as a user encounter on the internet can be broken down into one of those two categories. It's either going to be entertainment or information, or some combination of the two. It's not a cut and dried difference there. It's going to be, you might have something, for example, a zany sitcom may be 100% entertainment, while a documentary on left-handed kangaroos may be mostly informative, a higher ratio of information to entertainment in that one. So now, when it comes to creating board game media, I'm always looking at what other people are doing, and always just mentally making that ratio, looking at it. Oh, this person is, 75% information and 25% entertainment, or this person is, 99% information and 1% entertainment, and so on and so forth. But as I've been doing Paradise work and working with the Dice Tower and just being more involved with the other content creators that I've gotten to know and have worked with over the last couple months and years, a third criterion has edged its way onto the radar. And it's something that I always try to balance and I worry about a lot. And that is the third aspect, which is advertising. So what makes advertising different than information or entertainment? Well, advertising is entertainment, but it's entertainment, and then again, this is all just my own definitions here. Advertising is entertainment, but not entertainment for entertainment's sake, but entertainment to hook in the viewer with an ulterior motive. And then advertisement is also information, but it is information with a bias. Because you want to get someone to do something for you, either give you lots of money to purchase your products, or just get your brand locked into their mind. And one thing that people do a lot is they'll sneak in their brand into an otherwise, entertainment, seemingly entertainment topic, to try and, increase mind share. And it can be seen as like I said, as having an ulterior motive. Where'd that come from? Sorry about that. Okay, so that's why, before I get into this, again, since we're working on the internet, another thing that the internet is prone to do is to allow people to vent and whine and complain. And before we go any further, I just wanted to make a note that this episode is not meant to come across as a complaint or a rant or having an ulterior motive. Instead, this, like all the episodes of the metagame, this is just meant to be a discussion, both during our live stream and going forward afterwards in the comments below. Make sure that you comment on this after you click that awesome subscribe button. Sorry. Anyway, so this is just meant to be a discussion. And that's sometimes where we can run into trouble because some episodes and things, some people are like, why are you talking about this? What's your objective? Well, sometimes my objective is nothing other than just to spark the discussion because I love the discussions that happen about this board game environment and industry. Anyway, so speaking about these three things, so here's some examples. Like I mentioned, entertainment versus information versus advertising. Now, when I posted this on the Pair of Dice page, when I posted the information about this upcoming episode on the Pair of Dice Paradise Facebook page, and Twitter and stuff, one of the first responses I got was from fellow board game content creator, actually, Toucan Play That Game. Toucan being like the bird, but also it's a pun. It's a play on words of Toucan Play That. Toucan Play That Game. So, and what they responded to was they said they're going to try and make it into the discussion, but their question is, I don't see why it can't be both entertainment, information, and advertisement or something. Oh, infotainment and information mostly. And like I've already kind of set the premise, I believe it can be both. In fact, I believe everything is a hybrid of at least both, some percentage. But I want to flip that around. The crux of that, the reciprocal almost, if that is actually the proper usage of that word, the reciprocal of their question is what is spurning this whole discussion. Sure, I can see, why can't it be both? I think it's always both. But my thought on that is, can it ever be just one of them? And is that the source of the problems that we run into? Because I think that when people misunderstand where the media is coming from, that's what leads to people downvoting and complaining and ranting. And not just viewers misunderstanding what the media is about, but sometimes the content creator themselves misunderstanding what the content is about. I want to give you an example just from this past week. As you may have guessed already, if I was to classify Pair of Dice Paradise's content as in the ratio of entertainment to information, I always want to have some nugget of core information, something of substance in everything that I produce. Sometimes it's light and fluffy, but I always want to have something that a video is about, whether it's a review or a component proponent, even the thrift sift stuff where I'm making fun of a board game. I always try to have it not just be riffing on it, but have a point to it. And so, but what I know about myself is I've always seen my content as being probably more 75% entertainment sometimes, and then 25% information. And of course that ebbs and flows depending on the video. But I've always seen myself coming at it from an entertainment standpoint more. So when I have a video that is a hardcore, more traditional review of something, I actually start to get the night sweats. I start to worry. And this past week provides two practical examples of that worry and how it happens. For example, the first video I posted this last week was on the Dice Towers YouTube channel. And it was a review of a product that was exclusive to one website. And that was kind of one of the things I worried about when I was developing it. Essentially, on coolstuffinc.com, you can buy a $15 pack that contains 100 assorted different HeroClix figures. And I was going to get a little photo to post, but I didn't. But I'll grab something if you don't mind waiting. I missed you. Okay, so this little bag of 100 randomly sorted HeroClix figures. That was so totally worth stopping the show to go grab this bag full of plastic that you can't make out. That's good television. Anyway, so now since this product, this random assortment of 100 HeroClix figures, it's something I did want to talk about because I thought, hey, I tried it out. I experimented with it. I didn't know what to expect. So I thought others that have seen this might want to know what to expect. However, the problem I ran into is since this is a product that is exclusive to one website, Cool Stuff Inc. is the place that, they bundle this up and they sell it. It's not like a mass-produced board game where multiple stores are selling it. Only one store out there is selling it. I worried if I wanted to review this product that they provide, I worried that since it was a product exclusive to one website, if it was going to come across as an advertisement for Cool Stuff Inc. And people are going to be like, oh, how come you're doing an infomercial for Cool Stuff Inc.? And sure enough, a large portion of the feedback in the comments on that video was talking about that. This just came across as an ad and everything like that. Now, of course, a large part of that, again, this isn't a rant or complaint or anything, because a large portion of that, of course, falls on the content creator for the way they script out and present their content, obviously. But in that case, I wondered if there was like nothing I could do because of the way I had to, the product itself that I was talking about. So, c'est la vie. I kind of were worried that was going to happen, and there was, some people, that video got a larger percentage of downvotes than usual, as opposed to the thumbs up votes and stuff. So, like I said, I was kind of waiting for that to happen, and I was waiting for the old comfortable shoe to drop. So then, just a few days later, I had a video posted on the Pair of Dice Paradise channel about 6 different upgrades for the game 5 Tribes. Kind of something I've been wanting to do for a while is take one game and just apply a whole bunch of upgrades to it, so kind of present what's available out there. And of course, our sponsor, Top Shelf Gamer, helped provide a lot of these upgrades for the game and everything. And so again, I worried, is this video going to come across as just being seen as an infomercial for Top Shelf Gamers component upgrades for 5 Tribes? And so I released the video, grit my teeth, and thought, man, this is going to be like a week of infomercials. People are going to be so mad at me. And to my surprise, the response to the 5 Tribes video has been almost universally positive as you could get in a YouTube comment. So so people really enjoyed that video and didn't necessarily see it coming across as an infomercial for our sponsor at all. They enjoyed the video itself as it was. So my mind was befuddled. What's the core difference between the two videos? What caused one to be seen as an infomercial and the other not? Was it because there was a variety of products in one? Was it because one was on a different YouTube channel and a slightly different audience? I don't know. So that is actually what led me to come up with the idea for doing this episode. What made one be seen more as information and the other cross that line and be seen more as an advertisement? I don't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe it was just a statistical anomaly. When you release so many videos, you're going to hit that one video that hits that one day that people are just in that mood. Perhaps. Maybe that even didn't happen, and I'm just worried about it. I'm seeing it all myself, just on my side. So I don't know. Fortunately, I have a really cool YouTube chat to discuss and bounce this question off of. So I guess what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn over to the YouTube chat, kind of catch up from, there was already at least 11 comments posted before the show even started today. So I'm going to catch up on the comments we got, but hopefully work our way towards the questions that we've raised so far. Do you see board game media as entertainment, information, or advertising? Do you think that do you think that certain approaches to media creation lend themselves to being interpreted as one or the other, and is one approach better than the other? Can there be such a thing? Is there a market for board game content that is 100% entertainment? I guess Board with Life did that. They did 2 seasons so far of their great video series, which was pretty much entertainment. And they actually had quite a bit of success with that, and they had a very established audience. So, but I always wonder, is there enough to maintain that? So let's find out by turning our attention now to the chat window. And we'll see where the conversation goes from here. Well, the conversation is going to start from here with not our typical first commenter, Kabuki Kid, but Brian, who, interestingly enough, his first comment is referencing Kabuki Kid. So it's a little circle and it all ties together. So that's nice. But anyway, Brian starts us off with kind of a 6-part little comment here, and I'm going to go through it. Brian's talking generally just about the whole question of entertainment versus info versus advertising itself. Brian starts off, well, it really depends on the type of board game media and the creator. Okay, so things like reviews and instructional videos, they're usually just informational and not even infotainment, with some exceptions. Top 10 lists can fall between infotainment and entertainment, with playthroughs and especially live playthroughs being more on the entertainment side. You see, okay, I hadn't thought of live playthroughs as being more entertainment. I guess that makes sense. But he continues. As for advertisement, I only usually feel those when they come from a publisher. Oh, that's a whole nother subsection of this we could get into. Yeah. As for creators, Dice Tower is usually infotainment. Watch It Played, Brian says, is usually informational to infotainment. And Pair of Dice Paradise, it is awesome-tainment. Then brushes the brown off of his nose. Then that is actually also in Brian's comment. Okay, so there we have kind of a nice variety. And actually that's kind of cool that of the Dice Tower and Watch It Played were also mentioned, because I think that those are pillars in the board game content community of really showing different sides of the information to entertainment ratio. Both on the way they produced, the content they cover, the way they produce it, and the way they present it. I think they're both really good examples of how similar things can be done in a slightly different way. So Brian, I think that comment is actually a great comment to have be the first one, because it really, really sets the stage here. Sasha joins us again and mentions that I tend to agree, but I have to say I prefer the reviews that are entertaining as well as informational. That's interesting to know, because that's something that, like I said, I always struggle with myself, actually. I have a content creator friend who would do very informational videos, and they would start their videos with kind of a paragraph's worth, just less than a minute of kind of setting the stage and presenting the environment, the theme. And then they would get into the content, the informational content about that board game. Well, they received a comment once that basically said, shut up and just get to the game. That's what we're here for. And at first they were like, oh, well, that wasn't nice. But they realized, wait, they're right. That is what this particular presenter is there for. And over the time, they've whittled down and reduced that amount of intro paragraph setting the theme type of intro. And I believe that their content has gotten stronger for it because it's helped that content creator realize what they are there for, what their content is there for. Their content isn't necessarily as much to entertain and set the stage and be witty with a witty introduction. It's more to just shut up and get to the content, show us the game. And like I said, I think that approach has made them stronger. Now the temptation in that then is to follow suit and say, oh yeah, I should, get rid of witty intros and the jokes and everything. But again, I don't, everyone does different content, and my content is not as informational as them. Like I said, I approach my stuff more as entertainment, trying to have those nuggets of info in it and have it be useful, but still be something that's, for lack of a better way of putting it, if I was to stumble onto it myself, having it not be for me, have it be something that I would watch myself. And I'm kind of a easily distracted guy, so that's that way. But so Sasha, so the point is that hearing you say, Sasha, that you prefer reviews that are entertaining as well as informational, that's helpful. To be selfish, that's helpful to me because, like I said, knowing this other content creator's story of what he went through, minimizing his entertainment to get to the info and how that's actually helped him and his content. Hearing that from you actually helps reinforce that there can be an audience for different approaches as well with a more entertainment approach. So thank you. That little comment of yours actually helps. It's something that I struggle with every video that I make. So thank you. Let's continue on to the next big comment though, which is from Toyota. It's another multi-part one. So let's go through Toyota's comments here. Excuse me. Toyota starts off saying, I would agree with Chaz's points. However, I do think playthrough can be entertaining and informational, as a portion of my library stemmed from watching Will Wheaton's Tabletop. Oh, there is, of course, another excellent example. They do playthroughs of games, but do it in a very studio, established studio methodology. There was a word I was trying to find, and it wasn't established studio methodology, but traditional approach to the way they intersplice the cutaways and stuff like that. That's true. They do a really good job of combining those two. And so we should definitely mention Will Wheaton's Tabletop. But Toyota continues. And by Chaz, I meant Brian. Well, sorry. So you agree with Brian's point. Additionally, I find that playthroughs, when from reliable sources, so that's a very good point, from reliable sources can often be entertaining due to the very nature that some folks interpret the rules differently than I did, although I may not like their interpretations unless they are the designer. But I'll usually go with the crowd think on rules. Sidebar, you could have an episode on rules interpretation. That's a good idea, Toyota. And Toyota wraps up, you could likely do an episode on rules interpretation and rules that you thought you knew right, but are likely done wrong. So that's putting the rules in. I'm going to have to write down the rules interpretation stuff. I'll copy that and paste it into my, here we go. Paste that into my notes here for after the show. That's a good idea. I like what you said about the reliable sources, and I wondered if it was more because of the rules thing, because you believe you can, you think they're going to get the rules right if you think they're a reliable source of board game information. But what I was also wondering too is if coming from a reliable source where they are established and you know what to expect and you trust those content creators, I wonder if that would have let them allow them to let their guard down a little bit more. And being established in that way would have let them be themselves a little bit more on camera and go dip into the entertainment side of things without losing the people that are there for the information, because that level of trust that they know their stuff is already there. So that's kind of an interesting aspect. But let's continue on and try to catch up with some of these comments here. Catching up next with Kabuki Kid, who comes by to say, as to the video title in question, ... Personally, I consider most of what I watch regarding board games as infotainment, although there's definitely a selection that is purely for entertainment. Oh, and your comment stops there. I want to know. Who? Name names, Kabuki Kid. Who is the entertainment? Who is the information? Who is the infotainment? I want to know how all of the content creators I know, and maybe even some I don't even know yet, haven't discovered yet, how these people fall into this and their different techniques, and whose techniques rise to the top and why. So if you want to, let me know either in the comments after the show or in your chat here, which I hopefully will find. Let me know who you see as infotainment, who you see more as entertainment, and why. But in the meantime, let's continue on here, and let me reset my search. There we go. All right, then there was the long introduction area. Here we go. Trevin. Trevin just is asking about the thing I said earlier about writing him back. So Trevin, in case you didn't catch the beginning of the show, yes, I wrote you back this morning. And yes, I realized I was really originally going to tell you I was going to write you back far before this morning. So yes, I know I stink like old comfortable shoes. Okay. Gazensha joins us to mention that really this conversation depends on the type of media. Well, that's a part of this I hadn't thought of before. This, the metagame, I'm assuming, this and live plays are entertainment. Reviews and watch it played is infotainment. A creator making a video explaining the merits of their game is advertisement. So the type of media, and I think there, if I may split hairs, and it almost seems like you have two aspects there, not only the type of media, but also even who is presenting the media, how they are related to the product that they're talking about. Like explaining the merits of their game. Okay, yeah, explaining the merits of your game. But a lot of reviews could be seen that way. But a content creator themselves, of their own, talking about their own game, I can totally see that being seen as advertisement. So I think there's actually twofold in your post there, and I agree with both of them there. Continuing on with a two-parter from Kabuki Kid here. The advertisement aspect is the side that I usually ignore. If I see a reviewer who mainly does Kickstarter preview videos, then I usually ignore them. But that may also stem from the fact that I almost never back a Kickstarter that I haven't already been able to play or somehow have a ton of advanced knowledge of. And that's rare. That's so interesting. So that's something totally out of left field I wasn't expecting. If you see a reviewer who mainly does Kickstarter previews, you usually ignore them. Wow. Because I know a lot. Well, I assume there are several YouTubers and stuff that take on Kickstarter previews as a way to help, finance their media production. So they kind of do it as a way to pay the bills. So I'm wondering if that can be self-sabotaging in a way, because it sounds like there is the possibility that just doing that sort of Kickstarter preview content can marginalize your trustworthiness in producing other content. And that is something that I had not thought of before. Interesting. Okay, instead of going off on a rabbit hole, I'm going to continue on with the next comment, which again is from Gazensha, who says, I dread the day board game companies start doing proper trailers for upcoming products. In case we get a Game Explain style board game channel doing 90-minute videos analyzing for 2-minute trailers. is the thing that you dread mostly that it's the board game companies themselves doing the trailers, or just having that be a thing that happens no matter who does it in general? Is it that it's a little too navel-gazing, a little too introspective, a little too self-aware for the industry to do? I can see where you're going with that. The Gazencha continues, because that style of content is for some reason addictive. I did watch their entire 90-minute breakdown of the Mario Odyssey announcement trailer and their 50-minute discussion of it. So let me get this straight. I haven't watched a lot of these, but essentially, are these videos that are basically an hour-long video discussing a 2-minute trailer? I guess I've seen some of those reaction videos and things, mostly for movie trailers, not video game trailers and stuff. But so I guess the movie trailer ones I've seen, video game ones, I definitely can see them doing it. So maybe it is just the next logical step that the board game industry will start following suit. And yeah, that would be a whole new category of videos to slog through, wouldn't it? Okay, let's continue on. Cordero, I apologize if I got your name wrong, but Cordero 14 joins us, hello, to say that I would argue that going online to whine and complain is a form of entertainment to that person. Well, yeah, I think you're right, because if whining and complaining on their internet wasn't a form of entertainment, there would be no trolls, would there? So yeah, fair enough. I can see that totally being an aspect of that. Toyota mentions, I'd call that libel or slander, actually. Also a possibility. I've seen some trolling that definitely crosses that line. So yay for us for not stooping to those levels, I suppose. But yeah, I can totally see that being entertainment. And I admit I have been totally guilty of entertaining myself by posting stuff like that. I try not to necessarily post like whining and complaining, but like Marty from Rolling Dice or Taking Names, sometimes I'll get into kind of a trollish thing with him, like not understanding what he's tweeting about and responding with just stupid tweets or pun-filled tweets, and trying to just bait Marty into continuing a pointless conversation, trolling him, admittedly, for my own entertainment. And you know what? If he wouldn't bite, if he wouldn't take the bait so often, it wouldn't continue happening. So in a way, I think a very real way, it's his own fault. So, and I think that's something that we can all agree on and live with. So since that case is settled, let's continue on to the next comment. Gazencha talks about advertising and mentions advertisement and entertainment, without necessarily information, can be combined. Look at the half-hour toy commercials of old. Or even the DuckTales cast announcement trailer, which was in the form of the cast singing the theme song. True. I agree. And I think that, I think the problem, if entertainment and advertisement is mixed in its little beaker correctly, I think that it can just, it's fine. But I think that if it's sometimes no fault of the person who's creating the content, if the entertainment and advertisement mix is done incorrectly, it can blow up in the person's face and be seen by viewers as the person who created that one as trying to manipulate the viewers. So I think that combining entertainment and advertisement, those two, I think is actually, of all of the combinations, the possible permutations that we have, I think that is the most dangerous, for lack of a better word, one to develop, because it has the most potential to be seen as manipulative by the public. Even when it has, you know what? Here's an example of that too. I actually had in my notes that I was hoping to get to. Even when it's unintentional. Let's take, for example, the last year's release of Mechs vs. Minions. This I just thought was an excellent case study in how board game content in the media works. Mix vs. Minions was a fantastically produced game. Whether you like the gameplay or not, you have to admit it is a beautiful thing to behold. It was incredibly produced and had a lot of passion behind it. And it was news. So when Mix vs. Minions contacted a subsection of content creators, reviewers, and other board game media makers to talk about it, the result was that everyone got excited about it. And everyone wanted their content basically to be first. They wanted to get the scoop. They wanted to break the story. And of course, lots of times in this and every industry, there will be an embargo put on when information can be released. So you had Mix and Minions saying, hey, that's great, but we'll get you everything ahead of time. But until day X, no one can say anything because we're doing our own planning. So everyone got their stuff ahead of time and got their content created ahead of time. And they got everything recorded and uploaded to YouTube, not live yet. And then when X, or 15 minutes before X, hit, everyone launched their content and made the announcements because everyone was excited to talk about this, genuinely excited to talk about it and want their stuff out there. As a result, some members of the board game viewership community saw this as a marketing push that was trying to manipulate them. And I believe misunderstood it as such. Whereas I think, being involved kind of in front of and behind the scenes a little bit, I think that it was just people being really excited about talking about it because, again, it was something that was news. And they wanted to be involved in it and be a part of it. There was no ulterior shady deals or anything going on behind the scenes. It was just that. What you saw is what you got. And it was just amazing how, I guess because the board game industry has such a history of having a lack of any sort of planning in any way, lots of times, we fly by the seat of our pants so often that something that came in with that level of planning was so different. Some people saw it and were turned off by it and saw it more as advertising than information, not because of the content itself, but just the timing of when the content and the content like it was released, which I thought was just a fascinating case study in how even without the content itself, just the timing can change people's perception of entertainment versus entertainment versus information versus advertising. But anyway, that's that. Let's continue now to this, which is the comments in the chat. The next of which is from our old friend Jarb, who joins us to say, I would guess that entertainment is so subjective that the most obscure thing you can find can be entertaining to at least one person, especially with so many people in the world right now. That is true. It is. You know what? The example with Mix versus Minions is that perfect example of how you are right, Jarb. It is totally subjective from person to person. And I think there's no way you're ever really going to be able to combat that subjectivity. If there was, people would start releasing videos that would be 100% thumbs up or 100% thumbs down or something like that, because everyone sees stuff a little bit differently. So Jarb, that is an excellent point that I'm glad was stated during the show. Thank you. Gazencha continues on saying, there's nothing wrong with reviewing store-exclusive products. Every review of those games that are Target exclusives in the US is doing the same thing. That's a good point. I know when I go to Amazon, it's a good point, Gazencha, because when I go to Amazon.com or something, sometimes my daughter and I will be researching a toy or something together. And so we'll find this toy on Amazon and there'll be maybe some consumer reviews, and then there'll be a review video, consumer reviews. And then there'll be a video like Buy Toys R Us. And they always have the same format, so you can tell right away. And they even say it in the video, which helps. But the exclusives from the company making it, which Gazencha you kind of touched on and others have mentioned, I know that I subconsciously instantly discount what they're saying. I kind of ignore it a little bit, but I discount it and maybe use it to reinforce what other just general reviewers are saying about it. So you're right. There's nothing wrong with reviewing store exclusives like that or having the store themselves review it. But I do think that where they're coming from definitely does affect someone's interpretation of how much value that content has. But let's continue on with Cordero 14 again, who says a board game is exclusive to a publisher. In that way, a board game review could be seen as an advertisement. I absolutely 100% agree. As many of you probably know, I also work with Passport Game Studios. I'm their support guy and content creator, social media manager. Part of that job entails making YouTube videos about a lot of the games that are coming out. And we try to do how to play overviews. Try to steer with the stuff that we do in-house. We try to steer away from having it just be a review. Look how great this game is. Have it be more of a, hey, here's the theme, here's the environment, here's how it plays type of thing. Even with that, there's always that stigma of if we are producing a video about a game that we are publishing, how do we break through that barrier, that stigma of it just being seen as an ad? Excuse me. And that's something that I know I struggle with Passport, and I know every publisher out there struggles with. That's one of the reasons why getting review copies of games and everything into the hands of reviewers and having those reviewers and other content creators create videos coming from a third party can be such a beneficial marketing tool to a publisher. It's a mutually beneficial relationship that's formed between the reviewers and their audience and the publishers and the reviewers and stuff. But Cordero, it's absolutely right. The content created by the publishers themselves has a built-in stigma, I believe, where no matter what you say about it, it's going to be seen as an advertisement. And if anyone knows of a good, foolproof, honest way to break through that stigma, I would love to hear it, because like I said, it's something I struggle with at work every day. Every time I have to make a video, it's something I struggle with. So there you go. I welcome any feedback on that in the comments below as well. We're getting close to running out of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick into high gear into what we like to call the lightning round, where I'm going to just try to talk less and read more of your comments. So let's start off the lightning round with a flurry of comments from a bunch of different people here, starting with Gazencha again. Gazencha just mentions that I talked about the 5 tribes video earlier about the 6 component upgrades for 5 tribes. And Gazencha just mentions, I enjoyed the 5 tribes video, even though I don't even have 5 tribes. So that's good to know that came across as something that was enjoyable even to someone that didn't have the game. That's actually what I was hoping for. So thank you very much. Toyota mentions, I think that it could be the content. Perhaps folks aren't big on hero clicks. Toyota is referring to the problem I mentioned with the video I did on the Dice Tower earlier this week about the 100 assorted HeroClix product from Cool Stuff Inc. Toyota mentions, I think it could be the content. Perhaps folks aren't big on HeroClix, so it's easier to be a hater. But 5 Tribes has a bigger following, perhaps. That's true. Perhaps. I wish we had the data to know for sure, but could be it. I don't know. And Toyota, I agree with your next follow-up comment of maybe. So let's continue on with Cordero again, who says, the only potential problem with reviewing an exclusive product could come from the reviewer having revenue ties with the product. That totally makes sense. I think that's why, like with Mechs versus Minions, so many people were skeptical, because this weird marketing push everyone was talking about the game. Everyone was like, was there some sort of weird revenue deal going on here? And just the skepticism of that happening, Cordero, you're right, can lead people to having a negative response to what comes out. Sasha mentions about the videos that were released last week, mentions component upgrades are special. They are a luxury item, and there's people who want to pimp out their games, so they're grateful for that information. Others don't see it as an advertisement, So there's no buy this here. I hope you're right, Sasha, because, I mean, in the video, I even mentioned that the upgrades were from Top Shelf Gamer. One of them, the holder for the little board even has Top Shelf Gamer written on the little elastic holder thing on it. And so I worried that it was going to be seen as, buy this stuff from Top Shelf Gamer, go buy this, like you said. So I'm worried that buy this vibe is still even in there. You say you didn't pick up on it, so that's good. But so I wonder if you're right. I wonder if it's just generally being a component upgrade thing helped dilute that misinterpretation. I don't know. But let's continue on with Uriel, who mentions, I think the idea of saying that this isn't an advertisement automatically gives people a doubt in their mind. The 5 Tribes video was embraced as an advertisement, and people were okay with that. The 5 Tribes video was embraced as the 5 Tribes video was embraced as an advertisement, and people were okay with that. I hadn't thought of it that way, Uriel. That's interesting. I like that slightly different perspective on it. That's an approach to it I hadn't thought of. That helps a little bit. So thank you very much. But again, lightning round, continuing on with Cordero again, who I think is responding now to Sacha, mentioning that what Sacha recently said was very true. The people watching these videos are actively looking for cool bits to upgrade their games. So perhaps Uriel and Cordero and Sacha, you're right. Perhaps it's more people already know what they're getting into with the component proponent videos. I've already set that stage. So maybe it's setting people's expectations like that. With a review for the HeroClix thing, perhaps it was more people didn't know what to expect. Their expectation wasn't established yet. And so a lot of people perhaps felt like they were being manipulated. So very good points there. Awesome. But let's continue on. Gazensha mentions, I like pure entertainment stuff. Bored with Life and Dave Lewis's songs, oh yeah, his songs are really good, are being good examples. As I think is Flip the Table. Oh, now Flip the Table is I'm glad you mentioned Flip the Table because they are an excellent example to fit into this. Yes, Flip the Table, I think is, 95, maybe 85, percent entertainment. But what I like about Flip the Table, one of the many things I like about them, is that they also, like what I try to do, like with the Thrift Sift videos and stuff that I mentioned, not just bash and rag on the game, but always try to have a point. They talk about, what they would do to improve the game and modernize it and salvage it if possible, or how even that game being old and outdated works, alongside modern games, especially in a convention environment. So I think that's a really good example there. So thank you for mentioning them, because they definitely are one that when I listen to their stuff, the little mental calculator goes on, kind of sifting each episode. How much of this is entertainment? How much of this is information? And they're a really good one for doing that mental exercise to kind of find how they fit in that hybrid scale. But let's continue on, because we're almost out of time, with Kabuki Kid, who mentions, I actually tend to avoid the pure entertainment stuff more. I rarely watch those. There we go. Then we got the flip. We got the reverse there almost, a reversal from Gazensha to Kabuki Kid. One liking the entertainment stuff and one actually steering away from it and rarely watching that. Trevin mentions, Trevin is going to talk about another older video on the Pair of Dice Paradise channel where I did a comparison of different card sleeves. Trevin says, I would say your sleeve comparison video was very advertisey as you gave brand names, but it came off differently as you chose the brands rather than being a paid spokesman. It was a testimonial. Thank you. Cool. That's interesting to know. That can be such a difficult thing to balance on. How can you talk about a board game or a component upgrade or stuff without mentioning who produces it? And lots of times, that is something to worry about. I'm glad, though, your comments on that, Trevin, help reinforce that there is an approach that you can take to help mitigate that. So thank you. Cordero mentions, I definitely lean more towards informational videos, although they need to have some entertainment content. That's true. I obviously agree. I've said before, when it comes to creating anything, whether it's board game content or any content, any media that you want people to actually pay attention to and then get emotionally invested in, you got one rule. You got 3 rules. You can be a hero, or you can come across as being a villain. There's people that make their living be playing both characters. So you can be a hero, you can be a villain, but don't you dare be boring. Because if you are boring, people are going to switch right over to something else. So you have to have some level of entertainment content. Absolutely agree, Cordero. Let's get in here with our last 5 minutes with a flurry, another little flurry here I found. This one from Kabuki, who says, Chaz, not to brown no. Oh, maybe I shouldn't even read this out loud. You know what? I'm going to just skip. I'm going to ingest your comment internally, Kabuki, and store it in my memory banks. But thank you for that comment. I appreciate that. Gazentia continues on with saying that a good infotainment format for me, oh goody, is Once Upon a Die. 30-minute mixes audio drama based on a solo play while dipping in and out of more traditional review style content. The other episodes he does are 10-minute quick in and out video reviews reviews of games, since the audio drama productions take too much time to produce for him to do monthly. Which are one of the few one-person podcasts. I'm sorry, I said video earlier. That was my mistake. They are one of the few one-person podcasts that I find listenable. I have not heard of Once Upon a Die. I'm going to go check that out. Once Upon a Die, because the approach that they take to the content being good, you find is a really good example of infotainment. Thank you, Gazentia. I'm going to go check that one out. All right. And either we're nearing the end. Oh, actually, hold on. We got to the point where my search stopped searching. So we're going to try and find the end of the chat here. Let's see here. Come on. 2 big trailers. No. Someone talking about... in 30... What were you called? Once Upon a Die. There we go. Here's where we left off. Trevin mentions... Rodney from Watch It Played. Trevin says, Rodney is a weird middle ground. He teaches what he's paid to teach, so it's an ad, right? Also, he hides his opinions until you mention Kemet. Yeah, I just want to say I have crazy respect for Mr. Smith. What he has been able to build and create and the way he's pulled it off is, I think, a 1 in a million achievement. He's found that balance to present his content in such a way that, Trevin, I think you have it spot on right there. So I think that the takeaway from that is he found his voice, and it wasn't overnight, but he found his voice, his unique voice, where he fit in the industry. And I think finding that unique voice and investing in it is really the way to go. This might have to be where we get ready to sign off because we're out of time. So I guess maybe my main takeaway here is perhaps one thing to do is, whether you are infotainment, entertainment, information, or advertisement, find what you're most comfortable being, and when you find out who you are, invest in it fully and go for it. Perhaps. And there's going to be missteps along the way. There's going to be videos that you produce that people are going to interpret completely differently than what you intended, like the 100 assorted hero clicks or the Mechs versus Minions cluster of videos from last year. There's going to be misinterpretations, but as long as you're true with you're honest with your audience and true to yourself, the more content you produce, as long as you become more true to yourself and who you are and what you want to say, I think that's going to give you and your audience the best chances for success and enjoyment of the content that you produce. So, anyway, whether this episode was informational and helpful to everyone watching, or if it turned out to be just more of a therapy session for myself as a content creator, either way, I want to thank everyone who joined us for taking the time to come by and participate. It's always so fulfilling to me to see both old friends joining us in the chat and new people as well. I always appreciate the mix and everyone who stops by. So speaking of stopping by, if until our next episode, I encourage you to stop by and subscribe to both the Pair of Dice Paradise and the Dice Tower, who helps support me and Pair of Dice Paradise by giving me a platform on their own channel as well. Come by, subscribe, and also come by our Facebook and Twitter accounts as well and follow us there to continue the conversations about board game news and board game reviews and board game commentary such as this. And hopefully having some fun while we do it too. Until that next episode, I have been Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise, and along with the live streaming YouTube chat, we have been playing the metagame. Thank you all for joining me, and I'll talk to you again really, really soon.